Hey everyone, and welcome to this edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams along with Chris King. As we get ready for a big weekend, Chris, always good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, dude.
We're getting here. We're going to have a special guest. He's going to pop in here in the not too distant future. Rock Riley is going to join us. Until Rock comes, let's talk a little bit about what happened last night and go over some of the good stuff that happened, some of the bad stuff that happened.
Well, let's start with the bad stuff. Oakland forgot to show up in the first half of that game against Milwaukee. How do you go down 14 points to a scrub team like the Panthers and then forget to show up in the second half too? It was very disappointing. I expected a lot better from Oakland than what we saw in that game. I mean, they'll bounce back for sure, but the fact remains that we said that Oakland was going to win that game, and they stunk.
Yep. Well, that happens. That's why they call it gambling. And so now we move on to the good stuff.
Well, I mean, the good stuff we talked about, Murray State. Everybody was talking about that game against Eastern Illinois, and I know James was concerned about the fact that there was so many points. But we talked about how Murray State beat Eastern Illinois by 26 on the road the other day, and that game was horrible. If you were trying to watch it and you claim to be a fan of Eastern Illinois, I feel bad for the three of you that are out there. The game was 91-51, and it probably wasn't even that close when you get right down to it. I mean, Murray State, they bombed them. It was 48-22 at halftime, and it was just worse from there. There was a guy for Murray State. He scored, let's see. They had three guys in double digits, and five other guys scored at least 8 points. So, I mean, it wasn't even like they had one guy to rely on. You let a team shoot 62% from two and 41% from three, and you get beat on the glass 45-22. It's not going to be a good night for you.
There you go.
I feel bad for the three people that are fans of Eastern Illinois because they did not show up yesterday. On the plus side, hey, Paul Bizimana had 22 of their 51 points, so kudos to him.
Yeah,
being the one guy to show up.
Tell you what, while we're waiting for Rock, let's take a little time and give a little love to our sponsors at Caesar Sportsbook. And, one of the things that we love about Caesar Sportsbook is they're really cool about giving us some really great stuff to promote. And we got a great promotion going on, folks. Caesar Sportsbook and Winners and Whiners has a deal for you. Make your first deposit and bet using the Caesar Sportsbook app online, and they're going to match that first wager and deposit all the way up to $1,000. That's right. You're going to get dollar for dollar up to $1,000 when you make the first deposit and bet using the Caesar Sportsbook app or online. But you have to use the promo code, which you see scrolling under my face there, and this is Video Winners, okay? And that's how you get the deal. Now, if you happen to be in a New York state of mind, well, then they got some really cool stuff right there, too. And here's what that's all about. They're calling that the Empire State Royal Welcome. You get $300 in bonus cash on a sign-up. Plus, they're going to match your first deposit all the way up to $3,000. That's a deal worth, that's right, $3,300. But you have to use the promo code, and this is a different one, Winners New, okay? So all the information on both the promo that you can have if you're not in the state of New York and the one if you're in the state of New York with Winners and Whiners with all the promo codes, all of it's in our show box below. Be sure to take the time to check it out, and we know that you're going to be glad that you did, okay? So thanks for doing that. And again, you must be 21 years of age to participate. And as we say always here, that Winners and Whiners do gamble responsibly. All right? Okay. Let's jump into the college basketball for tonight. And here's what's going on. You got Illinois, the Fighting Illini, taking on the Terrapins.
Yep, just down the road from you there, Jim, in College Park.
That's right.
At the Xfinity Center, because another stupid name for a building that should just be, I remember when it was Cole Fieldhouse.
Cole Fieldhouse is next to it, so.
Oh, okay. Well, still, it was better when they played there then, because at least it was a real name.
Yeah.
But yeah, Illinois, they're only favored by 4.5. This line actually came down a little bit. It was 7 last night. The Fighting Illini 13-4 this year. The Terps 9-9. Where Danny Manning took over after Mark Turgeon stepped down during the middle of the season. I'd feel bad for Manning walking into a landmine situation like that. The Terps are 6-5 at home. Illinois is 3-1 on the road this year, and they already met 2 weeks ago. And Illinois took that one 76-64 at the State Farm Center in Champaign. In that game, Kofi Cockburn, who we've been talking about dominating teams inside, had 23 points and 18 rebounds for the Fighting Illini. Meanwhile, Maryland's big man, Qudus Wahab, who transferred from Georgetown, put up nothing. No points, 2 boards. To make matters worse in that game, Jim, he fouled out in 10 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
Illinois is 23rd in scoring offense. They average better than 80 points a game. They're 71st in field goal percentage at 46.6. They knock down 9.7 threes a game, which is 24th in the country, and they are second in the country in rebounding at 42.8. Meanwhile, you got a Maryland team that is 211th in scoring offense, just 70.5 points per game. They struggle shooting the ball 42.7%. They're 280th in threes at 6.3 a night. They're 207th in scoring defense, giving up just under 70 points a game. Meanwhile, you got an Illinois team that's 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 as a favorite. Maryland 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 home games against teams with a winning road record. When you get right down to it, Jim, we saw this happen 2 weeks ago. Like we said, Illinois won by 12. They covered the line at home. It's a shorter line here. I know Illinois is coming off a double overtime loss to Purdue on Monday, but I'm not going to fault the team for losing to a team like Purdue, even when they lost to Rutgers and screwed everybody over. You have to think, plus now Illinois got Andre Curbelo back in that game. He had been out since late November with a neck/head injury. He was in the concussion protocols and everything else. That just adds another weapon to Illinois' already impressive arsenal. Meanwhile, Danny Manning's got, he's got Fats Russell, who transferred from Rhode Island. But, I mean, who else do you have for the Terps that you're going to rely on offensively in a crunch time situation? I mean, if I'm looking, I'm not impressed by Eric Ayala. Hakeem Hart hasn't really done a whole lot. So you're basically relying on Donta Scott or, if you look in the last 5 games, for all the talk that we talked about Wahab stepping in to be the top big man, he's been supplanted by Julian Reese, who's a 6'9" freshman who weighs 230 pounds. He's logged over almost half the minutes at center. Do you really want to put a guy that's 6'9", 230 in the block against Kofi Cockburn in this game? If I'm Maryland, I'm not.
Yeah, I was going to say that's light for a 6'6", 6'7" guy, let alone a 6'9" guy.
Right, and like we talked about before, Cockburn's 7 feet. They list him at 285. If he's 285, then King Kong Bundy, who they said weighed 460, was only weighed about 310. Because I'll tell you what, Cockburn's about a biscuit away from 310 right now as it stands, and he will just he's going to steamroll a guy like at 6'9", 230. I mean, we saw Wahab couldn't contain him, and Wahab's 6'11", and what's he going, about 260, I believe, 240. So even he's light. So you got 2 light guys in the middle trying to contain a guy that just eats people for lunch. It doesn't bode well for Maryland. I don't care if they're at home or not.
No, it's not a good night for the Terps. That's for darn sure. Let's move on as I try to get Mr. Riley in with us. So let's move on to the next game. And
all right, we're going to go to the Missouri Valley Conference.
Illinois State.
Yeah, Illinois State favored by a touchdown over everybody's favorite color card team, the Evansville Purple Aces. Apparently, the green clubs were not available, so that's why they went with that. Illinois State, they're a 500 team. They're 9-9 this year. Evansville is 4-12. They've had problems. They fired Walter McCarty last year. They brought in Todd Licklider. They went down the toilet. They haven't been a whole lot better this year. Evansville's 1-5 on the road. Illinois State, for all their problems, and they've had problems, don't get me wrong. Dan Muller, not to be confused with ex-Florida coach Dan Mullen, has issues on the defensive end of the floor, but they're fortunate they score a lot of points. They're 8-2 at home. They're 37th in the nation in scoring offense at 78.8 points a game. They're shooting 38% from three-point range, which is 27th in the country. They're 31st in free throw attempts. They average better than 21 attempts per game at the line. Meanwhile, they're going to face an Evansville team that doesn't score. They're 352nd in scoring offense at 59.8 points a game. They're 342nd in field goal percentage at 39.4%. If that wasn't bad enough, they're 310th shooting inside the arc at 46.5%. And they're the fourth worst team in the country when it comes to rebounding at 29.2 boards a game. I mean, they always talk about, you win games with defense. Well, Evansville doesn't play defense. They don't play offense, and they don't take away opportunities from the other team because they can't get rebounds. Evansville's 2-10 on the road in their last 12, or 2-10 in their last 12 on the road against the spread. They're 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 as a road underdog. They're 1-6 in their last 7 on the road against teams with a home winning percentage better than 600. And they're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 after scoring less than 50 points. They were trounced by Loyola of Chicago at home the other day. The Ramblers rambled all over them. Meanwhile, Illinois State 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 overall, 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 at home. You have to think, even though Illinois State can't stop anybody, they're 341st in scoring defense. Evansville doesn't score enough to make a difference because when you're 352nd or 353rd or however far down the list you are, people know you aren't going to beat anybody offensively. They're averaging less than 60 points a game. Even though Illinois State gives up 78 a game, I don't see Evansville getting probably more than 65. I look for Illinois State to get the win in that one and climb back over 500 on the season. John wants to know if IUPUI is regressing. I mean, John, we said not to pick them against Ohio State. We said Wright State would beat them yesterday and cover the line, and the Raiders avenged, if you can avenge a 14-point win, they avenged it by beating IUPUI by 28 on the road yesterday. The good news is IUPUI, they'll get another chance to pick up their second win of the season tomorrow as they host Northern Kentucky. Ken Pom currently has them projected to lose that game by 11. In case you're scoring at home, they don't project IUPUI to win another game this season. Just looking at the numbers, they're projected to lose by 27 to Oakland, by 20 to Detroit Mercy, by 12 to Youngstown State. They even have them losing by 8 to Robert Morris at home, then by 17 to IPFW, by 22 to Cleveland State, by 17 to UIC, by 14 at Robert Morris, by 18 at Youngstown State, by 11 at home against Milwaukee, and by 6 at home against Green Bay. So I guess you could call it a regression. When you've got, 12 or whatever games left, 12, 13 games left, and you're only projected to lose by single digits, that's not exactly the prettiest stat you want to look at right now.
No, that's for sure. I'll tell you what, we finally got Rock Riley here, technology being the way it is. He's joining us via phone. Rock, it's good to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Gentlemen, beautiful Florida, beautiful Tampa Bay, ready for this divisional playoff game.
Well, it's going to happen. That's that part we know. We want to tap in on your expertise here before we get to the football. We wanted to find out if your game, as we talk about NHL hockey.
Oh, I'm game. I've been at Bucks every day, but yeah, you want to do a little hockey? We can do that.
All right, cool. This is, you're under no obligation to get it right. Just to chat. We're not going to hold it against you, my man. So let's, Chris, why don't you talk about the games that we're going to talk about in the NHL?
Well, we're going to start, Jim, with the UBS Arena, where the Islanders are favored tonight rather heavily. The money line has them at minus 270. The puck line has them at minus 105 to win by multiple goals over the Arizona Coyotes. Of course, Arizona 10-24-4 this year. The Islanders are back to 500 at 13-13-6. Arizona, they've won 2 in a row. Somebody break up the Coyotes. That's right, 2 straight victories. They beat the Devils 4-1 Wednesday night. It's going to be Scott Wedgwood, 4-9-3 with a 333 goals against and an 894 save percentage between the pipes for the Coyotes. Against the Islanders, Ilya Sorokin, who's 10-7-5 with a 237 goals against, a 927 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. Both these teams will play tomorrow night. Arizona will face the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. The Islanders will host, as John will call him, that traitor John Tavares and the Maple Leafs at the UBS Arena. The Islanders 6th in the league in goals against at 2.66. The Coyotes are 30th at 3.61. We're looking at a battle of two offensively challenged teams. The Coyotes second worst in the league. They average 2.26 goals a game. The Islanders are third worst at 2.31. But when you look at the goaltending matchup, you have to think that Sorokin and company can get the win at home. Coyotes 4-12 in their last 16 against the East. They're 1-6 in their last 7 on Friday. The Islanders have won their last 7 games as a favorite. Remember, they swept the Flyers in a home-and-home earlier this week. They're 5-1 in their last 6 overall. And Arizona does not have a lot of success going to the island. They've dropped their last 7 meetings in Long Island. Of course, those were all at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum or potentially the Barclays Center. So things not looking too bright for Arizona as they try to make it a 3-game win streak, in which case I think the entire state of Arizona would shut down for a long weekend because, let's face it, the Coyotes have not been all that great. Though I have to give them credit. They're 5-3-2 in their last 10 after starting the year 5-21-2 in their first 28 games.
What do you think of the Islanders? Have you seen much of them?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, here and there, I honestly, you guys are the experts. I've been so heavy in the NFL and at the Bucks daily, and I follow the Lightning, so I don't want to just give you. I don't really have any expertise, so I'm just going to sit back and listen while you guys go through this NHL.
Well, we'll do one more, and then we'll get to the NFL because that part
Sure.
you know about. We're more than happy to.
Yeah, you guys are the experts. You go. This
is a Panthers game. Let's kind of blow through this one, if you would, Chris.
Right, the Panthers are going to go on the road to face Vancouver. Jim, your buddy Bruce Boudreau has done a good job getting the Canucks back to 500 on the year after that slow start. Florida's playing the second game of back-to-back. They whipped Edmonton 6-0 last night. Sergei Bobrovsky, 23-3 with a 238 goals against and a 925 save percentage, is supposed to get the start for Florida. Unfortunately for Vancouver, it's going to be Spencer Martin in goal, making his 4th career NHL appearance, his season debut, and his first appearance for Vancouver. He's playing because both Thatcher Demko and Yaroslav Halak, who, Jim, we talked about earlier this week, why Vancouver hasn't built him, are both in the COVID protocols. This is going to be a tough matchup for Vancouver. The Panthers, second in the league in goals per game at 4.1. Canucks are 27th at 2.51. Florida 5-0 in their last 5 when their opponent gives up 2 goals or less. They're 5-1 in their last 6 on Friday. Vancouver 0-4 in their last 4 home games after a road trip of at least 7 days. And they're 0-4 in their last 4 on 2 days of rest. You have to feel bad for Boudreau knowing that his top 2 goalies and J.T. Miller and Garland and Bo Horvat are all in the protocols. It's going to make an uphill climb for Vancouver in this one. And Florida, they didn't have to break much of a sweat dusting the Oilers last night. Look for a victory there for the Panthers on the road.
Okay, Rock, meet Chris. Chris, meet Rock. And guys, we got some football tomorrow. Let's talk a little about the first 2 games tomorrow if you got a chance here, Rock.
You got it. What do you got?
Let's talk about the early game.
You want me to just start? I just saw that Derrick Henry, they just announced that he's actually going to start, which doesn't surprise me for Tennessee. And they, when you have him, now granted, he has been out for quite a while with that foot, but yesterday they put him through a contact drill, which usually NFL teams don't do. Like, for example, here with the Bucs, they just do walkthroughs because the season is so long now.
Sure. It's
a matter of getting mental reps. And he went through the contact. He had 2 defenders, cracked pads, felt great. So with Derrick Henry back, I think that's just huge for the Titans in that game against the Bengals tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Do you think he's going to be on any kind of, to use the baseball term, do you think he's going to be on a pitch count, Rock? Are they going to limit his snaps and work Donta Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard in the mix too?
Yeah, they could have those. Oh my God! When you look at that, that would be a three-headed monster. But you know what? I think it depends on how the game goes. Because you lose, you're done. You got a whole off season. You know what I mean? So they probably, if they get a little bit of a lead and know it and say, okay, we got to play the next week, then definitely they won't. They won't take in the whole game. But boy, oh boy, if it's tight and they need him, he can rest all off season.
Rob, one of the things that you and I, and Chris, we've all been around the league for a long time. And when the Titans coming down the stretch, they probably figured, you know what? Let's just try to rest this guy longer than we need to. And my guess is he's going to be in pretty good shape tomorrow when he comes out there to play.
Oh, my God. I mean, now, you cannot simulate game action.
Right.
But if you've seen his workouts, oh, my God. And like I said, they know. Like these training staffs know. If they got you out there, you're ready to go, then you're going to go. That just helps Tannehill so much. And really, if you look at Tannehill at the end of the season, I was looking at some of his numbers over the last 3 weeks of the regular season. He threw 7 touchdown passes, did not have a single interception. He also did a lot on the ground, but again, he didn't have Derrick Henry, 7 rushing touchdowns with the league's second most among quarterbacks behind Jalen Hurts. So this also does help Ryan Tannehill.
I think a lot of people were surprised, but Ryan Tannehill can run.
Yeah, no. And actually, when I looked at second to Jalen Hurts, you're right. That, and on the other side of this, though, the Bengals are feeling real good. Burrow and his weapons now, defense a little bit better. The game is in Tennessee, and the Tennessee Titans have had a little bit more time to rest for this one.
Now, let me ask you, Rock, you saw the game last week. What did you make of the inadvertent whistle touchdown that basically was the margin of victory in that game that got Cincinnati past the Raiders?
Yeah, I don't think that it was the right call. What did you guys think?
Well, I think if you learn in elementary school, you play through the whistle.
Right.
And you can moan all you want to about it, but at the end of the day, the Bengals didn't win just because of that, and the Raiders didn't lose just because of that.
No, I totally agree with that, because a lot of times, same thing with the Cowboys, and bitching and moaning about that last play. Look, you were penalized how many times in that game? You had a whole game, so you're exactly right. It didn't come down to just that play.
I mean, that's true. I mean, the Raiders were 1 for 5 as far as scoring touchdowns in the red zone. But, I mean, when you come right down to it, though, the margin of victory was 7 points. Who knows if they reverse that play, if Cincinnati even scores a touchdown on that drive, if they kick a field goal, then the Raiders would have been in a position to kick a field goal there on that last drive and send the game to overtime.
No, very, very, very good point. Very good point.
But the game that I think everybody's interested in, and I know Chris is interested in it because he's a Buffalo Bills fan, is the primetime game tomorrow night.
That's that game's Sunday, Jim.
Oh, of course it's Sunday. That's why I bring it up. No.
There's another good one tomorrow night, though. But I tell you,
you know what? I'm going to tell you this. I don't know about you, but I have a feeling that if there's going to be an upset this weekend, it's going to be in Green Bay tomorrow night with the 49ers.
It's funny you say that. I have gotten that from a lot of people. They've just got this gut feeling that everybody, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is going to be MVP again. Oh, it's in Green Bay, the Frozen Thunder. Oh, they've had a week to rest. There's no way the 49ers. And yet I've had a lot of people tell me they're getting this feeling that the 49ers could pull off the upset. Now, I just noticed right before I came on here, I didn't even know that Jimmy G, their quarterback, was on the list yesterday, the injured list with a throwing shoulder.
Right.
And today, the word is it's just slightly strained, and he is going to be able to go. Same thing with their linebacker Warner's going, and also defensive end Nick Bosa, good to go in this game.
I think the biggest name on that list, obviously Jimmy G's important, no question. But Nick Bosa,
Yeah.
that was the guy. They needed to have Nick Bosa back in that lineup because Nick Bosa is a beast, and he can keep them in the game. The reason I like him, Rock, and I'll just share this with you, and you and Chris can tell me what you think. They have the ability run-wise, and and I think Kyle Shanahan gets undervalued for his ability to adapt, even though he's a passing guy. They could keep Aaron Rodgers off the field if they could continue to play keep away, which is exactly what they did in their win last week. They kept the other team off the field as much as humanly possible, and they used that same thing to beat the Rams in that game that they won in overtime, the final game of the season.
You are correct. They do. They have been using that in their arsenal. That's worked out great for them. They also, Jim, have a very physical defensive front.
100%.
That I believe. Yeah, I think it's going to keep this game close. But in the end, like Aaron Rodgers, is he not going to be able to get it done? You look at his record when they were a #1 seed, and what has happened, man? They have not been able to get it done in the end. And I know last year I was here, man, at when they went to Green Bay, and everybody figured that they would be able to get it done. They didn't. So, and he, once again, another MVP season. He's got his favorite receiver. He wanted him back. Management listened. So I just think it's going to be a whale of a game.
Well, the 49ers are playing with house money.
Yeah.
Nobody expects them to win.
Right.
And you also have to factor in, too, Jim, the weather is going to be in consideration here, too. Game time temperature in Green Bay is supposed to be about 11, and the wind chill's 1 below. How's Garoppolo going to handle playing in that kind of weather? He's not used to it either.
Well, the other thing, a good point, I was listening to a former coach, NFL offensive coordinator, who was on Sirius today, and he brought up a great point. He's like, look, we have coached, and these guys have played in extreme cold. Now, listen to him. Oh, extreme cold really isn't that bad of a thing? You're kidding me. But the thing is, if it's windy, if that's the big key, because that really limits your passing game. It changes the kicking game. So that's the thing. Right. But you're right. Green Bay is used to it up there. Aaron Rodgers says he's a cold weather guy. The colder you bring it on. And you're right, Chris. I don't think San Francisco is used to that. So we'll see. But if it's windy, boy, that changes everything.
Yeah, and the other part is that it changes the way receivers, they can say how much we can play in cold weather, but I don't. You see a lot of receivers who suddenly their hands get like stone when that ball comes up there, because that ball is, when it comes flying in there, it hurts to try to catch it.
There's no doubt about it. I've had receivers tell me that. Mm-hmm. I was at the facility the other day, and one of the kickers was screwing around, and they call it target practice. They try to take out a media member, and he kicked it. He kicked it right at me. Right. And I was like, I had the phone in one hand. I was doing video, and I tried to do it in one hand. And I didn't want to make it look like I was a little bit of like a wussy. Right. That thing was like a rock, and it hurt my hand so bad. I pretended that it didn't hurt me, and it was 80 degrees. So I cannot imagine if it's 11 degrees or 10 degrees. But they're the best in the game, and so. But you're right.
Well, it's prove it time, and I just if you look at the rest of the games, they're all going to be close. I just thought if there's a game where there could be an upset, certainly the Bengals have a shot. You never know. Everybody's got a shot. But I think the way that they line up, the 49ers line up against Green Bay, it makes for what could be potentially an interesting game.
Yeah, I think. What do you guys think? I don't think there's going to be any blowouts this weekend like there was last weekend.
No, I don't think. Not at this. Not when you look at the final grouping here. They're all pretty amazing. And then you've got I'll tell you what, we'll take a second. Chris, if you guys don't mind, let's take a quick second. We'll jump on that Buffalo game, then we'll come back and circle back to the Bucs for you there.
Got it.
That game, to me, you got the two best young quarterbacks in football.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes either way. But go ahead, Rock. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Everybody is getting so hyped, and rightfully so, with Josh Allen, especially what he did lately and what he did last week. But I'm telling you, with Mahomes, with Andy Reid, with this game in the Arrowhead or whatever the name is now, one of the loudest stadiums. I don't know. What's that spread? I think it's 2. I think it's about 2. So is this the year for Buffalo? Everybody seems to think. I'm not going against the Chiefs. I'm not.
Well, the other thing too, and it's, as the old saying goes, it's not for nothing, is this might be the swan song, at least, unless they get to another game, for Eric Bieniemy. And
yes, I agree.
I think that Eric Bieniemy personally is going to do everything humanly possible to craft an amazing game plan. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think the tough part for Kansas City is dealing with a Buffalo defense that, they already beat Mahomes in Arrowhead earlier this season. In that game, Buffalo, Josh Allen went deep all over. And I guess the plus for Kansas City there is they took Daniel Sorensen out of the starting lineup because he was lit up like a Christmas tree repeatedly in that game. But I think the big thing, too, is, the fact that Buffalo's been there and already beat Kansas City there. They're not going to be intimidated going into the Arrowhead Stadium. They've had to play there now. This will be the third time in less than 2 years.
Correct. I really try not to, games, it comes down to matchups. It always does. It really does. Like the boxing, styles make fights. But Brady, the other day, and who would know better than the GOAT? And he said that, because the Rams beat them earlier in the year.
Right.
And he's like, it really is a whole different season. It is different. You cannot go by what you did in week 3 or week 7. Last year, that was the tip. That's what happened with the Bucs. And he goes, you got to earn it. You have to put in the time. And Arians says I keep hearing this, but I'm there every day. Arians is like, you don't change your total game plans this late in the season. You see what you did against the team early in the year, that you make a couple of tweaks. There's been maybe a little bit of personnel. They might be doing something a little bit different. And then you just go with what you do best right now at this time of year. And that's the only thing that I think that Kansas City Chiefs, I'm not, I don't know, man, playing in there. But you're right. That will give the Buffalo Bills a little bit of swagger going in there, knowing that they were able to do it during the regular season.
Well, and you also have to think they've got the momentum of knowing that they just made Bill Belichick look like, well, to make fun of Scott Reichel, one of our other hosts, they made the Patriots defense look like the Jets.
They did. They really did. That was one of the biggest surprises, the way they dominated. No team does that to a Belichick defense, really. It was incredible. You're right. No, they're on a high. I would like them. Believe me, I would love to see. I like Josh Allen. I like the Bills to win this game. But I'm going to kind of stick with it. That's just me for this one.
All right, you're going to be at Raymond James Stadium in your seat in the press box on Sunday, and I got to say I'm a little angst-ridden about the Bucs this week because of that defense that the Rams come in.
Oh, no doubt about it. I'm telling you what. Living here in Tampa, you should see it's like doom and gloom. There's been fans that have actually been jumping off the bandwagon thinking the Bucs have no chance in this game.
I wouldn't have gone that far. I'm just
no. I'm telling you, it's funny how how the perception is. So, all right, so I'm over there, and I'm over there today, and it comes down to, will they have their starting offensive line? They've been there all year protecting Brady. Yes, he gets it out quick, but they've also got injuries at the wide receiver position. And these backups have not done a good job of getting open. If they can't get open quick, Brady can't get rid of it quick. That would mean it's all dink and dunk. Tristan Wirfs is their all-pro right tackle, and their all-pro center is Ryan Jensen. Both went down in this previous game with ankle injuries. Jensen went back in. He was able to actually finish the game. I think he's going to be a go. The young guy, Wirfs, tried to go a couple plays and couldn't. It's a high ankle sprain. Now, I watched him a couple of hours ago. He was all suited up. He went out there. He did not have a boot on, and it was taped up. But Josh Wells, who would be his replacement, is also suffering from a quad injury.
Right.
And then you don't have Antonio Brown. You don't have Chris Godwin. Who's your deep threat? Mike Evans is a baller. He's not your burner.
He's a slot receiver.
Rashad Perryman. Now, Rashad Perryman turns out today it's not just a hip. He's got a torn muscle. He wasn't practicing, so he's not going to go. They might have to activate a guy named John Brown, who they picked up. I'm serious, and Brady does not like that. He usually, if you come in, I've seen this happen. He comes in during the week, somebody just comes in. Brady works one-on-one after practice with that player. He's not going to have that. So you got Gronk, you got Mike Evans, but after that, it's a bunch of backups. Leonard Fournette, it looks like he's going to be able to go. He retweaked his hamstring last week, but he's not going to be near 100%. So no, it does. Honestly, it does not look good for the Bucs.
I was thinking the only way to go against that defense would be play tempo. But given what you're saying, you can't play tempo if you don't have time to get the ball even down a short dink dunk pass.
Well, you know what, Jim? That is a good point. Right. Now, here's the thing. When the Bucs go no huddle, and they have even done this on occasion, first and second series, they have so much success. You might have to end up going with that, because that way Brady comes to the line of scrimmage, he changes it, he's seen everything. He processes so fast. And Arian said the other day, once he figures you out, even in a game, then you're done. So they might have to do that. They might have to go more no huddle, and that way he's seen the field, boom, he's going to go to whoever. I don't want to bet against him, though. That's the one thing. I mean, it's incredible. Like, I'm listening to him yesterday, and he's like, I told Nelson is their public relations director, Nelson Louise. He goes, I told Nelson, I don't want to do anything extra this week. I am all about football. Do you know that for every single game, his wife, Giselle Bundchen, and the kids leave the house the day before? They do not stay overnight. This is even regular season games, because all he does is focus on the game plan and the opponent. For all the success he's had, it's incredible. He is well prepared.
Well, Brock, let me ask you this. How concerned are you if Wirfs and Jensen are banged up and hobbled in any way, having to deal with Leonard Floyd and Von Miller and Aaron Donald in that front seven? I mean, we know Brady is not the most mobile of quarterbacks at this stage of his career. He never was to begin with. But, I mean, you've got three, top-tier pass rushers coming in there to disrupt you. Does that concern you at all?
Oh, big time, Chris. Big time. Honestly, I think that's the key to the game. The Buccaneer defense, they're going to be able to. They're starting to get back again, stopping the run. They have been number one against the rush for the last 2 years, and then the tackling, and they've slacked off. And then these older guys, they're getting hurt, but they're coming back. So I think they're going to be able to stop the run. Their defensive backs, that's another thing, man. They've been kind of banged up too. And look at the weapons. Since they got Odell Beckham Jr., and then you've got Kupp. You know what I mean? And Stafford is feeling it. So, but what your question and what I think it comes down to, can the offensive line somehow, you're not going to be able to stop that front. And they don't blitz. They don't even have to blitz. I'm talking about the Rams. I think that's going to be the key, and that is a huge, huge concern, because last year when they were on their run for the Super Bowl, they didn't have any injuries. They were getting better each week, and now it's trying to just mix and match to try to win, and it's a big concern.
Well, that's why I was talking about tempo, because if you play tempo, you don't have to hold a block that long.
Right.
And you're now again, you could in playing tempo, and if you screw up, you're one and done in 45 seconds. So
And I remember those days from the K-gun offense in Buffalo in the 90s.
Yeah.
Where either you score in a hurry or you end up punting the ball in a minute and 3 seconds. And then you got to trot your defense back out there.
Richie, Rock, our buddy Richie Eisen this week.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard it, but he did a piece. I think it was yesterday, and he was talking about last year at when they got to the playoffs. He said that he had picked the Bucs at the beginning of the season, and he held them all the way through. And when they got to the playoffs, he said, "I'm sorry, I've got to jump off the train now. I'm gonna leave." And he said, and of course, they go on and win the Super Bowl. So he said to his producer, "This year, if I say at all that I'm not on the Bucs," he goes, "you just slap me down." He said. So he says, "I don't care," because I don't care if it was just Brady and the center. I'm still not jumping off Brady's train. So
that's good. That's
Richie
good.
was Richie was like, don't. He burned me last year. I'm not going to get burned by him again. So we'll
it's
see.
incredible. It's incredible. Watching him today, they have this little drill where they try to make it fun, and the quarterbacks compete against one another. It's like the old wide world of sports. They have a big, it looks like a huge donut on a cart, and a guy drives it. And they try to throw it through that. Then they try to throw it through over a screen through a laundry basket, and then they also try to hit the crossbar. And I'm telling you what, man, they compete. And Brady, he just missed the crossbar today, and he's like, "Yeah, dad." He says a swear word, like really, really loud. And I'm like, oh my God, it's only like a little drill to make it fun, but that's the competitive juice that he still has, and his arm still looks lively. Getting back to what Chris had a really good point, too. Here's the other thing, too, Chris, on that, with the banged-up offensive line trying to go against that defensive front for the Rams. Okay, so Arians was asked, Gronkowski has the thing with Brady, and they're on the same page. And with these receivers down, you're going to need him. But Gronkowski is still a premier blocker. With what the Rams are going to bring and with the banged-up offensive line, are you going to have to keep Gronkowski in to block? And he's like, look, he's a pass catcher. He is a good blocker. We don't want to keep him in a lot. So that's really not an option either.
Would they go 2 tight ends and bring Braid in and then send one of them out and keep the other one in to at least do a chip block? Or is that not an option given the way that their Arians likes to run that offense?
That is a good point. The problem is Cam Brady is not a good blocker. He's older. He's good in the red zone. He comes up with some big plays, but he's really not a good blocker. Gronk is. O.J. Howard is also a decent blocker. He's been a bust as far as coming in as a high pick out of Alabama. I asked him about his Achilles. He said, "No, my Achilles is totally 100%. Well, what is it? The goat's not going to you. But you would think that would be an option, but Brady's really not a good blocker.
You know what, Brock, when you're talking about Brady and the competition?
Yeah.
You know what brings back memories of? One of the joys of my career when I did NBA basketball for many years was watching Michael Jordan walk through in the morning when they would do the morning practice. Because you would see Jordan betting anything on a horse, on anything, that there was nothing that he wanted to, he was going to put on a show every night because he was like, it was kind of like Michael Jackson. Okay, he was a showman, and
Right.
I think Brady and Michael Jordan and people of that
Yes.
ilk,
Yes.
even the little things piss them off. They don't get it.
Yeah, that's why they are the greatest. There's another level of studying, and then when it's whatever competition it is, that's why they're the greatest. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah, even the late Kobe Bryant. I mean,
Yeah.
Watching him, he was the first guy out to practice. He was the last guy to leave the court.
Yes.
You're just sitting there going, this is a guy who can go off for 60 points in his sleep. Why does he need this? And he doesn't need it, but he thought he needed it.
Right.
So yeah, 100%. Well, Rock, it's been a pleasure, buddy. Let me give you the opportunity. By the way, you need to listen to this man's podcast. It is outstanding. And follow him on Instagram and on Twitter. Shameless plug time, Rock. Tell us where to follow you, buddy.
All right, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Real Rock Riley, RealRockRiley, Facebook Rock Riley. I have a podcast called The Rock Stops Here, and it's athletes, coaches, entertainers that have made it to the top, and if they're not at the top anymore, what's it like? Real life, how did they get there? And it's funny, every single person, whatever field it is, entertainment, radio, TV, athlete, entertainer, the ones that I talk to that have been at the top or are at the top, they all have a good attitude. They don't bitch and moan like, oh, this business sucks anymore. Oh, man, COVID is killing them. Like, they all have a really positive attitude. And it's interesting to see. And I even talked to one guy the other day, and he's like, you know what? I was for a stretch. I'd start to get down and get negative. Takes so much energy. And so that's what I found. So I enjoy that. So it's wherever you get your podcast, The Rock Stops Here.
Now, did you clear that name with Dwayne Johnson, Rock?
Oh, that's so funny because there's a lot of pro wrestlers here, and they know him. And a couple of guys in WWE, they always bust my chops about that. They actually say, for as big of a star as he is, Chris, he is one of the most down-to-earth guys, The Rock.
I can tell you from personal experience that I knew him when he was in Miami.
Really?
And we did some games down there. And years later, when he was in the WWE, my brother George did WWE wrestling with them. And to this day, I mean, the guy he's what he's as nice a guy as what you saw, when you saw him after practice in football at Miami or, at WWE or whatever it is. He enjoys life.
Let's not forget, he is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
Right. And
he's the greatest.
He's a lot of fun, and I will tell you this much. Another mutual friend of ours, Dan Cilio, played at the U. Dan, not as much as The Rock, but Danny. And, there's a guy who, after practice, you definitely, when I'm talking about The Rock, Dwayne was a fantastic athlete, enjoyed life afterwards. But at the same time, I will tell you this, the last thing you wanted to do was be in a football game now, playing against Dwayne Johnson, because he could pick up and move mountains. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a guy that strong in my life. And had he not gotten tweaked about, in college, he really got banged up in college before he ever got a chance to play. Had he made it to the pros, I'm sure he would have done fine. But God knows that he made Vince McMahon a whole lot of money at WWE.
Well, that was a trend, though. Back then. I mean, look at guys like, if you go back to the 60s, you had Big Cat Ernie Ladd and Wahoo McDaniel. They played in the AFL and then went on. And then you had Lex Luger. I mean, I'm sure Rock's familiar with him, being from down there in the Tampa area.
Oh, yeah.
Rock and I know the Hulk. I mean, I went to high school. The Hulk played at Robinson High School when I was at Jamin.
Just saw Jimmy Hart the other day.
Did you? How's he doing?
Doing fantastic. He does not age. He does.
No, he's kind of like the current version of Mr. Fuji.
It was. We could talk wrestling all day long with all the guys that are down there.
There is a lot. There is a lot down here.
Who's still around?
All of them. They're all here. John Cena lives here. Chris Jericho lives about 15 minutes from me. I can go down the list. I don't know what it is about Tampa Bay. Ric Flair has now moved here.
Did he?
Yeah. Woo. Yeah.
And the late Randy Savage lived down in Florida as well.
He did.
You know,
yes.
We used to
in
live
Pinellas County, and his brother Lanny.
Yeah, we used to live around the corner. We used to live around the corner from Dusty Rhodes. And,
it's the greatest.
And Rick used to stay at Dusty's house.
So
if you wanted to see two guys, the last time I saw Dusty and Rick was at a 7-Eleven in Lutz. And
that's gotta be a weird pairing to see at a 7-Eleven.
They were basically just having a great time, and the reason they stopped was that, of all people, because he didn't promote it, Dusty had to have a Slim Jim and he had to have a Slurpee.
Hysterical.
So, but that just tells you. I mean, these guys were, were a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Rock,
they're good guys.
Thank you, buddy. Love
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Enjoy it, gentlemen, and enjoy this weekend's
All
games.
right.
Thank you.
I'd love to talk wrestling with you at some point too, Rock, because I'm a big fan of it. Going back
Awesome.
to the days of the territories and everything else.
Oh my God! Awesome.
Rock,
All right, gentlemen.
be well, buddy. I appreciate
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, Rock.
Okay, Rock Riley, ladies and gentlemen. Out the door we go.
Great guy.
Great guy. Superman. He had a wonderful afternoon drive show in the Bay Area for many years. Just as nice a guy as you'd ever want to meet, and extremely knowledgeable. So, tell you what, we're running a little late, so let's pop over to our 2 for the money segment and just kind of do a little. I'm calling audible here on you, Chris. Let's move over to 2 for the money.
Alrighty.
And here we go.
Okay. And the 2 for the money segment tonight, we like the Penguins. You can either go with, I put the money line and the puck line because I know sometimes people don't like to deal with multiple goals when it comes to things like that. Over Columbus, the Blue Jackets, they managed to beat Philadelphia last night 2-1, but they're playing the second game of a back-to-back here. The Blue Jackets have not been good this season. The Penguins have played well. Tristan Jerry in net for Pittsburgh against Elvis Merzlikins for the Blue Jackets. It should be an interesting matchup, but I just have no faith in Columbus the way they played. Yeah, it has come out. Kofi Cockburn won't play tonight for Illinois. He's in the concussion protocol, which is relatively new considering he was played against Purdue. But I still think with Trent Frazier, Alfonso Plummer, and now the returning Andre Curbelo, they can get the upper hand on Maryland. The Terps just haven't looked good this season. And like I said, I feel bad for Danny Manning that he got thrown into taking over that situation when Turgeon decided he wasn't the right man to lead the team. Florida over Vancouver, like we said, the Canucks, they're down to their third-string goaltender, a guy who hasn't played for them yet in his career. He's only made 3 career NHL appearances. They were all with Colorado. He was 0-2-1. Doesn't bode well for them here. Florida, I know they're playing the second game of back-to-back, but they didn't really have to break a sweat as they whipped up on Edmonton last night in a game that probably could have been worse than the 6-0 score that it was. And finally, the Lakers -5 over the Magic. I know that we make fun of the Lakeland Magic, Jim, but I mean, let's get down to it. I mean, even as badly as the Lakers looked the other day in that loss to Indiana, you have to think that Frank Vogel knows that they're playing the worst team in the league. And if they can't beat Orlando on the road,
then he might be fired
for his chances of sticking around much longer.
Yep.
I think that they should take care of business in that contest.
Let's go for 2 for the money. Up next, we know, is 4 for the show.
Yeah, Charlotte -9 over Oklahoma City. just to break it down simply, Charlotte is second in the league in scoring offense at over 114 points a game. Oklahoma City is last. They're also last in field goal percentage. They're last in three-point percentage. They got whipped by 22 by San Antonio the other night on the road. Charlotte's playing good basketball of late. I know sooner or later they're going to come back to earth. I'm just hoping it's not tonight. We said Illinois State -7 over Evansville. The Purple Aces don't score. The Redbirds don't defend anybody, but they score a lot of points.
Right.
So you have to think playing at home where they're 8-2 this season, they can outgun an Evansville team that's 352nd in scoring offense. Tampa Bay over Anaheim. The Ducks were blanked the other day by Colorado. The Lightning are playing quality hockey, as you know, Jim.
Yeah.
They were middle last night. You have to think they can get the win there. They'll actually play, I believe, Vancouver tomorrow night. So
Right.
the Canucks will hope that they can get a goaltender back before then.
Yeah.
And finally, St. Bonaventure, the Bonnies, Mark Schmidt has done a great job. They lost to Dayton the other night, but they beat VCU rather handily at the Riley Center last week. I look for them to go to the Steel City and take down the Dukes of Duquesne. What a stupid name, the Dukes. I mean, we couldn't go with a better name. I'm sure the Duke of Hazzard wish that they hadn't called themselves that.
Actually, Duquesne, the reason it's called the Dukes, Duquesne being a French, it was named after a Frenchman, and he was a Duke. So it was
I did not know that.
There's a historical reference to it, so that's why it's the Duquesne Dukes. I could have lived without knowing that trivia, but there you go, folks.
But yeah, I like St. Bonaventure on the road. I know that it's tough to play on the road, especially in the A10. But the Dukes are just 3-4 at home this season. They're 6-9 overall. The Bonnies are 10-4. Like I said, they whipped up on VCU at home last week. Plus, they're pretty healthy. They got kind of lofted back. They have Jalen Attaway. Osuniye is a force in the low block. That 7'9" wingspan helps you knock down a lot of shots and make things difficult in the offensive end for opposing teams. I like the Bonnies in that one.
Okay, it's time to go to the fun part of the program, which, of course, is we got a whole bunch of options. And, it's always good to have options. And, Chris, why don't you take a look at this and break it down, give people some options here.
Right. Well, like you said, it's always good to have options. I like Buffalo at home over Kent State. The Bulls have won 3 in a row. They beat Bowling Green to start that trend after they had an extended period where they weren't playing because of COVID issues and everything else. I know it's wreaked havoc with a lot of teams. Kent State, they beat Akron. They beat Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan in their last 2, but it's just hard to have a ton of faith in the Golden Flashes going on the road. They're 2-3 this year. The Bulls 4-1 at the Alumni Arena. This total's actually gone down the line's actually gone down to 7, which makes it even better. The other school that has a whole bunch of letters that play in the Horizon League, the Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons, -7 over everybody's favorite doormat that's not named IUPUI in the Horizon. That's right, Robert Morris. Sorry, I just can't have faith in the Colonials given the fact that they've got, I believe it's 2 wins this season, unless they pulled one out that I didn't see. But nope, they did. They beat Northern Kentucky the other day. So there you go. Their 1-game win streak comes to an end because they have to go on the road here. Their only road win came over St. Francis of Pennsylvania back in December. Also, Ohio. This is going to be a good matchup in the MAC, for those of you that don't tune in. Ohio's 14-2. Their 2 losses are to Kentucky and LSU. Toledo is 14-4, but this game is at Ohio. The Bobcats are undefeated at home this season. I look to the slip past the Rockets. Toledo will circle the date of. Let's see, so I don't get the date wrong.
So it's like they're playing in Athens, which is Joe Burrow's hometown.
Right. Toledo will circle the date of February 8th when these teams meet in Toledo to try and get a revenge at the Savage Arena. But tonight in Athens, I'm going to go with Ohio. In the conference that nobody ever talks about at all because, well, it's a very small conference, I like Wagner in the Northeast Conference over the Long Island University Sharks. I kind of remember when they were the Blackbirds, but I guess they changed their name. Wagner's 11-3. Long Island is 7-9. I get they're 6-0 at home, but they haven't really played anybody of substance when you break it down. And Wagner played some decent basketball, and people sleep on the Seahawks, but hey, do that at your own risk. Then when we go to the ice, I like the Wild on the road over the Blackhawks. Both teams coming off losses and shootouts in their previous game. The Blues, I expect to bounce the Kraken. Seattle screwed me over last night, beating San Jose 3-2. They're playing at home again here, but the Blues the upper hand. And like we said, the Islanders over the Coyotes, going to Wedgwood over Karel Vejmelka, who will get the start tomorrow for Arizona against the Rangers. Apparently, the Coyotes are underestimating the Islanders by playing their backup goaltender. That's usually a sign of disrespect, but, there's that too. Then in the NBA, the 76ers, -8.5 over the Clippers. The Clippers still don't have Kawhi Leonard. They don't have Paul George, who they're extending his rest period to try and get his elbow better. Doesn't help when, they just gave up 49 points to Nikola Jokic, and now they have to face Joel Embiid, who had 50 and 12 against Orlando in 27 minutes the other night. Then the Celtics -8.5 at home over Portland. We've talked about how bad Portland is on the road. The Trailblazers come into this one a dismal 4-15 away from the Moda Center. They'll have McCollum, but they won't have Lillard. They won't have Norman Powell or Larry Nance or Cody Zeller. Meanwhile, the Celtics hope to get Marcus Smart back tonight, either way with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, plus the seemingly ageless Al Horford, who had turned back the clock to where he only looked like he's 37 now. You have to think the Celtics will get the win. And finally, on the docket there, we've got Miami +1 on the road over the Hawks. Miami, they got Bam Adebayo back, Jimmy Butler back. They won't have Tyler Hero or Markieff Morris. Meanwhile, Bogdan Bogdanovic out for the Hawks. Clint Capella, Gorgie Deng, and there's one other name. Let me find it. Oh, that's right. Danilo Gallinari, all questionable tonight for Atlanta. I just don't have a ton of faith in the Hawks. They're just 2-11 in their last 13 at home. The Heat, you have to think they lead the Southeast Division for a reason. They should get the win here. James, the reason why that number is low for Illinois, like we said, Cockburn is out. I don't think it's a trap. I just think that, people expected that Cockburn was going to play, and then when they announced he was out, Illinois is going to have to adjust. But they've got so many other weapons. Well, Maryland has, Fats Russell.
Not as many weapons.
He transferred from Rhode Island. Other than that, I think that Illinois should still win that game. And there's James telling people to hit the like button. Jim, he's taking your job.
That's okay, James. I appreciate it. Smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. And before we get out of here, we want to take one last chance. My producer was very good and diligent in making sure that I remembered this, about the Caesar Sportsbook. And, they got a couple of cool deals for those of you out there who love us, Whiners and Whiners. And, just because you are fans of ours, Caesar Sportsbook and Whiners and Whiners have a deal. And that is you make your first deposit and bet using the Caesar's Book app or online, and they're going to match that wager all the way up to dollar for dollar, up to $1,000. Now, you must use the promo code Video Winners to get that deal. Again, they're going to match your first deposit and bet using the Caesars Sportsbook app or online. They're going to match it all the way up to the first wager of $1,000, dollar for dollar. Okay, you don't have to put $1,000 in, put in 10, 50, whatever, but they'll go all the way up to 100 on the first one. But you have to use Video Winners as your promo code. Now, if you happen to be living next door to Scott Rochelle, then you're in the New York state of mind.
And our apologies.
Yeah, that too. And they've got this new deal. It's called the Empire State Royal Welcome because, New York's only been in this business now for not even 2 weeks. You get a $300 bonus for sign up, and you get the opportunity that they're going to match your first deposit all the way up to $3,000. So that potentially could be worth $3,300. You have to use a promo code, and this is a different one. This is Whiners New, okay? So to get the deal for those of you outside the state of New York, or to get the deal inside the state of New York, both of them, promo codes are right in the show box below. All the information is in the show box below. By all means, be sure to check it out. And we like to let you know that here at Winners and Whiners, and of course with our buddies at the Sportsbook at Caesars, we want you to, first of all, be 21 years or older to participate, and also always please bet responsibly. Okay? All right. So, Chris, we're wrapping things up here for the end of this week. Any final thoughts for the week? Anything that you're looking forward to? I know you're looking forward to the game between the Bills and the Chiefs come Sunday night.
Yeah, it should be an entertaining game. I just hope that Buffalo's defense plays the way they have all season. I mean, the big thing is going to be trying to shut down Tyreek Hill, because without Tre'Davious White, it's going to put more pressure on Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson and company. But, with those two safeties back there, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, I mean, they can make a lot of good teams look foolish. You saw Hyde's interception in the first quarter of the game against New England the other day that really swung the momentum in that contest. You have to be concerned, if you're the Chiefs, how will you slow down Buffalo's offense, seeing what they did to a New England team that was top 5 in the league in defense, not just Saturday, but they did that in week 16 too. You have to figure both those games they didn't punt. In the Cincinnati game, interesting stat, Jim. These two quarterbacks were sacked a combined 98 times this season. Which offensive line is going to hold up? And, can Burrow pull an upset? I mean, Tennessee's pass defense isn't all that great, but can they overcome the not so much the momentum, but, the emotion that's going to come with Derrick Henry coming back? If Henry fumbles on his first snap or something like that and sucks all the wind out of Nissan Stadium, how do the Titans respond?
I don't know. It's like I said, Cincinnati has the potential of winning that game. I don't think there's any question. I don't see that Tennessee. I mean, yeah, they're the number 1 seed. I get that, but I don't think they're not the best team in the AFC. I think the best team in the AFC is whoever wins the game between the Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. And maybe I'm disrespecting Tennessee, and if that's the case, I apologize.
Well, I mean, I've seen reports that people are saying, are the Titans the worst number 1 seed in NFL history going back?
I think that's fair, but I think what you got in the AFC is you have 3 good teams. You got Tennessee, you got Buffalo, and you got Kansas City. They just came at it in different ways. I will say this, and that is, I was not giving Dallas much hope all season long, and I got lucky and was right in that regard. I think Tennessee's a much better football team and a much more complete team than Dallas is. And they played in a conference where, it wasn't a great conference this year. But all that being said, I still think the 2 best teams are the 2 teams that are going to play on Sunday night.
You've seen Tennessee, they had some duds down the stretch. They lost to Houston at home.
Right.
Then they got blown out by New England. They beat Jacksonville, but then they lost to the Steelers in that game where they turned the ball over 3 or 4 times in 10 plays.
Yeah.
And what righted the ship for them was when they rallied to beat San Francisco at home in Week 16. But even if you look at their regular season finale, when they went to Houston, knowing that a win would give you home field advantage, they were up 21-0 at the half and watched Houston make it a 3-point game.
Right. I don't know. That's a coaching staff in Tennessee that's not. It doesn't have the playoff experience that Kansas City and Buffalo has. So we'll see. And Joe Burrow and Cincinnati, I think, they're a year early. I thought that would be a team that would be great, or at least a division challenging team next year. I didn't expect that it would be this year. And, the dominoes kind of fell right their way. Pittsburgh had a bad season for the most part. Baltimore was just a mash unit, and Cleveland couldn't get out of their way. So, you ended up winning that division. I don't want to take anything away from the Bengals because they played well enough to get themselves in there, and then they won last week. So, in a tough game against the Raiders. So, we'll see. But it is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals won. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee. If Henry can run, if they can play that game, then they're going to be tough for anybody to beat because they can keep away for a long time. But that's and Tannehill is one of those guys who probably is not going to hurt you in the as a game manager. He knows to throw the ball to the popcorn vendor as opposed to taking a 10-yard stack. So he's pretty smart in that regard. So yeah, I mean, he kind of reminds me in some ways of Trent Dilfer when Dilfer, had quarterbacked his way through a couple of playoff wins, or Rich Gannon when Rich was with the Oakland Raiders, or Brad Johnson when Brad was quarterbacking the Buccaneers. They're smart enough to know when to, not lose the game. So that's something that it's not for nothing. So there you go. So anyway.
And Derek, real quick, yes, I think Niagara will beat St. Peter's at home. I also like Fresno State at Nevada. We saw Nevada lose to Wyoming earlier this week. We saw Fresno State. We told you they would beat Utah State at home. They did. And finally, we talked about Wagner and Ohio in the Shot in the Dark segment. I like both of those teams. Mm-hmm. Wagner on the road at LIU, Ohio at home over Toledo. That's going to be one of those games that's underrated. That's going to fly under a lot of people's radar. You're going to have two very good teams from the mid-majors on the floor in that game in Athens.
All right. For Chris King, I'm Jim Williams, and we want to thank our special guest, Rock Riley, who was always a lot of fun to have. We'll have him back, and he'll talk wrestling. If you have wrestling questions, get them ready because Rock will be there to talk.
And don't forget Steen and Reichel coming up with Back to the Window, 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Thanks for the promo. That's a good point. Just 15 minutes from now.
So that way you can get a snack and everything else. And
that's right. Are you going to be on there today?
I'll be on there for the NFL show after they do their regular show.
Oh, okay. That's the one that you can pick up over the weekend. So, yeah. Later tonight, you can it'll drop and you'll be there for the NFL show. So you're going to –
Nobody ever tells me any of that crap.
I think that so that's going to be coming up tonight. So by all means, you're going to want to tune that one in. And
just remind Reichel when you go to watch Back to the Window that the playoffs are a real thing. He just doesn't know what they are because he's a Jets fan.
Well, somebody's got to be. The poor mean green. All right, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We're going to be back with you on Monday. And again, thanks to Rock Riley. Chris, as always, a pleasure, my friend. We will talk again come Monday. Hope everybody has a wonderful and safe and warm weekend. Enjoy, and I hope your team wins. Okay? All right.